All right, so we are continuing a series here called the Photography Business Restart, where you learn all the steps to setting up your photography business without the stress and the overwhelm and the headache. Because I think this can be kind of an overwhelming process. While there are a lot of steps, I wanna help guide you along the way. So in the last video, I talked about naming your photography business and some considerations, as well as a resource for checking availability of that name. Be sure to go back and watch that. We also covered your services, getting started with some pricing or even your starting prices and how to establish that as a photographer. And we also went over how to think about or start thinking about your target audience, because we're gonna build upon that as we go here today. So in this video, I want to talk to you about two aspects of the visibility of your new business as a photographer. So we're going to go over website and portfolio. Then we're going to get into a little bit of legalities and things you need to be thinking about that are the legal side of your business, which isn't super fun, but is super important. And we want to make sure that you're set up legally so that you have a business that can stick around and that you are not caught in any sticky situations. So the number one thing that I think you need to set up after you do the previous steps that we talked about is get a website. I do still have people ask me, is a website still relevant as a photographer and as a business owner? And my answer to you is yes. Instagram is awesome. Facebook is awesome. TikTok is awesome. YouTube is awesome. There's so many other places that we're gonna get free visibility as photographers, but we need a home base. We need a place to come back to that we can always send traffic to that's gonna be very truly your home base for your business. So you need a website. And last week we talked about naming your business and getting that domain name. This week, I want to talk to you about the importance of that website. And when I say website, I'm also implying a blog or a place that you can post consistent content that you own. So it's your place, your domain, and it's your zone that you get to fully customize and make your own. So as your business grows and as your brand grows, you're going to be able to have that home base that you have full control over, regardless of what these social media platforms are doing. Now, I use and love Showit. That's my website platform, but I actually have another great option for you that's an all-in-one software that I'm going to link down below. So a couple of other options I'm going to have in the description section for links for websites that I know and trust, builders that I have had lots of my students use. And if you're inside of my Facebook group, Photoboss, you can also ask what other people use and just get a good idea of what might work for you as well. So be sure that you're inside of the Photoboss Facebook group as well. So it's my personal opinion that when you're first starting out, you should not get professionally branded unless you have a lot of money to invest in something like this, because it's very likely that your brand is going to evolve and change over time, and that brand might not stay with you. So if you spend thousands of dollars on a custom branded website, it's very likely you will rebrand in a very brief time. Like in a couple of years, you could be in a completely different place. So it's my recommendation that you start out with a very clean and simple template that you customize and make your own. I think your pictures are what's the most important part of this, because you are a photographer after all. So making sure that your images are what's shining and making sure that you're being clear about things like search engine optimization, titling, and have strong navigation for your site are more important to me than something that's just very beautifully branded that might not stand the test of time. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion or not, but I just don't think most photographers starting out need professionally branded $1,000 websites. I think a really strong template can be a perfect place to start. So I'm gonna link a few of my favorite template shops down below as well. So obviously you're gonna need portfolio to put on your website. You're gonna use this across social media as well, and we'll get to that in a later video. But I think first and foremost, having a strong portfolio is a really big piece of the puzzle in your booking abilities. And honestly, it's just gonna make your marketing a lot easier, because there's almost nothing more difficult as a marketer than trying to book something you can't show. And that's exactly what I see photographers trying to do. They want to book weddings, for example, but they might not have many weddings in their portfolio. Now, I know this is like a catch-22 moment of which comes first. Do I get the booking, or how am I gonna get the portfolio without booking? Now, this becomes your job as the photographer and as the business owner to really put on your business cap and say, all right, I have got to get the portfolio to showcase what I'm capable of. Now, this is gonna make you a better photographer because you're gonna get the experience, but you also need to be able to show what you want to book 9 times out of 10, or it's gonna be so difficult to book. So a couple ways to get portfolio if you haven't been able to get whatever it is that you're trying to photograph, whether it's babies, families, seniors, weddings, anything like that, you do need to get some portfolio under your belt to properly showcase what you're capable of. So I recommend doing free shoots or swaps with anybody, like friends and family, another photographer, or a stylized shoot. So you can do a blending of these two things in a stylized shoot. I actually have a whole series here on my channel about how to plan and execute a styled shoot so that everybody's happy, all the vendors are happy, and you get the portfolio that you desire for your business. So if you're interested in the wedding world and you want to get your feet wet with a stylized shoot, I will link that entire series down below as well. Another way that you can get portfolio is what's called like a shootout, or these retreats that are like hybrid learning retreats. They are put on all the time by different educators, and someone else will plan a stylized shoot or will have a model and allow photographers to come in. You know, usually there's a set amount of photographers that can come in, and then they learn by, you know, seeing what the other photographers are doing, and then they get to have a few minutes to shoot on their own. So it's an opportunity for you to gain portfolio, show what you're capable of. Now, side note, I think it's really important to disclose what's a real wedding and what's not, because a stylized shoot is not a real wedding, but it is an image that you took, and that's valid and that's fair. And we all have to start somewhere, but it's important that you don't put that out into the world as if it's a real wedding when it absolutely is not. So let's always be honest about where the portfolio came from and whether or not it was a legitimate wedding or not. Now, another side note, if you shoot a friend for free, I don't think you have to say it's free work when you share that portfolio, because a portrait session is a portrait session. There's no such thing as like a fake portrait session versus a real one. Like the wedding world, I think there's a bit of a discrepancy there. There's such a thing as a mock wedding versus a real wedding day. Portraits, you're totally fine to photograph people for free and then share that portfolio without saying, hey, I did this for free. Now, before I move on, I want to mention there is a free guide that goes along with the series that has lots of check boxes for you to go through and make sure that you've crossed your T's, you've dotted your I's in your photography business so that you're setting yourself up to be profitable and sustainably profitable. So I go over lots of little details like getting your Google business listing set up and things you might not have thought about so far. And this is one of those areas where I have a few more ideas for how you can gain portfolio inside of that guide. Now that we're talking about shooting and gaining portfolio, this actually naturally leads into the third point of this video, which is the legalities. I have a couple of things that I want to make you aware of as you're gaining portfolio, whether this is paid or unpaid, and that is to always use a contract. You want to make sure you're using a contract even if no money is being exchanged. You can always make sure that you're using a model release, and even in a contract where you're not getting paid, you can clearly define what the images will be used for. So I know that this can be kind of a sticky area where you think you were clear with someone that you were going to use images in your portfolio, but by the time you edit those images, they tell you, I don't feel comfortable with you sharing these on your website. And then you're sitting there just wondering what went wrong. I gave you free images, you're not letting me use them, and I feel like we've all been in a variation of this kind of situation, and it's so frustrating for both parties, honestly. So contracts make it so that both sides have clearly explained their expectations and honestly protect both people from feeling taken advantage of or getting into some kind of legal dispute. So always use a contract. If you're looking for contracts, I will have some links down below on contract websites that I trust, places that you can find contracts included in bundles, and some resources that I have for you in my shop as well. One other thing you're going to want to think about as you start shooting more and creating more images as a photographer is liability insurance, because if someone gets hurt by tripping over your light at a wedding reception, that is going to come back to you or could come back to you personally. Whether or not you're an LLC or a sole proprietor, this is completely regardless of that. I think you need to be thinking about liability insurance. So I will give you guys some trusted websites that can give you some information about this so that you can take that next step. And I think that's just the next part in really stepping into this role of business owner and professional in your photography business. All right, so we have gone over lots of good stuff here today, and there's even more in the guide below, so be sure you grab that. Again, I'm gonna have lots of different resources mentioned in the description section below, so be sure to check that out for more ways to gain portfolio, to set prices, and make sure that you're taking this next step in your business in a calculated and strategic way so that it's not just a giant mess. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I don't want it to be messy, and I'm here to streamline it with you. So be sure you're subscribed because we have more videos coming up in this series. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.